Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is Michael Cross. Little background, I've taught psychology to young adults for 30 plus years. International relations, sociology, international finance, quite a few areas in the social sciences. And I'd like to just kind of share some insights and maybe help the world in a little way. And by the way, if you like this video, please hit subscribe and also hit like, because that bumps us up in the algorithm. Make some comments. I like to see comments. Whether you think this totally sucked or whether you loved it, make a comment. Of course, that will bump us up in the algorithm if you do. And share. If you like it, share it on your social media. I'm not sponsored by some big corporation, okay? So this is all, guerrilla marketing, so to speak. So anyway, what is the commandment in the Bible? Oh, not to turn you guys off. This is not going to really be about a Sunday school lesson, okay? It's not. But I'm just using this as an example. What is the most hated commandment by what you could call the elite in the world today? Okay? Is it don't go out and have sex? Well, that's obviously not the thing, because they seem to promote that a lot in media. Is it don't drink? Well, obviously not. Is it peace? Well, look at all the wars in the world today. I don't think we have too many leaders out there that are really promoting peace, so to speak. So what would it be that they hate the most? I'll tell you what it is. It's the 5th commandment in the 10 commandments. And you know what that one reads? It's the honor thy father and thy mother commandment. And it states, honor thy mother and thy father, that thy days may be long in the land thy God gave you. Now, what in the world does that mean? Does that mean, if you have bad parents, you still gotta love them? It might be, I don't know. But I think it has a much stronger connection to the concept of heritage. Now, your parents, as good or bad as they are, they made a lot of sacrifices to at least get you here. Okay? And you know what? Their parents made a lot of sacrifices to get them there. And then we go back another step. And their parents and their parents and their parents and their parents, and so on and so on and so on. A lot of people sacrificed to bring you here now. Okay? So that's what that commandment means. To honor your heritage. Now, there's a quote here I'd like to share from Alexander Solzhenitsyn. I know I misspelled that hard, really bad. It's a complex Russian word. But if you don't know, he wrote the Gulag Archipelago, and that dealt with his experiences in a Soviet gulag. Now, if you went to public education in the United States, you don't know what a gulag is. And probably if you went in northwestern Europe, you've never heard of a gulag. Because for some reason, all the millions of people that were sent to these kind of places and perished, they're kind of memory hold, so to speak. You don't hear about them. But he experienced it. And he survived. And he went on to do a lot of writing and a lot of warnings to Western society. Now, one thing he did say was that to destroy a people, you must first sever their roots. Okay? That means you have to destroy their sense of belonging to a chain of events that goes back hundreds, if not thousands of years. Now, I'll note this, the elite, they know, they got books and books and books that deal with their family history, their genealogies. They determine who their children are going to marry. They don't leave it to chance. And they really maintain their bloodlines. But you are not to do that. It's kind of the same way that the elite, they're very spiritual. And we won't get into that just yet. They believe in God or gods. whereas they promote the idea that you shouldn't. Why is that, you think? Well, like I said, we'll get back to that in a later video. But the thing is that people, if they have a sense of who they are from where they came from, then they feel more positive about their culture, and also passing that on to the next culture. So they may be more likely to think, having 3 or 4 children, for instance, is a great idea. That's a wonderful thing. That's a patriotic thing. That's something that will benefit their religion, because there will be more members of their church who will then go on and have kids, and so on and so on. But you see this war taking place, and I don't think it's just an organic thing that just some blue-haired gals at universities scream about, or something like that, or some real radical people go out and tear down a statue, and they don't even know who the statue was for, but they tear it down because, well, obviously that must have been someone associated with slavery, even though sometimes they tore down statues of people who were abolitionists. But the thing is that there is a war on against even saying that you are a proud person from your culture. There are many who would say that if you say, I am so proud of being a Swede, they would say, oh, you must be racist. And you're like, what? You're proud of being Swedish. Or you might be proud of being Irish, or Italian, or Russian, or German, or Japanese. And there are people out there who will attack you. They'll say, oh, you're privileged. You come from a colonial past. You had ancestors that had slaves. Well, most people didn't have ancestors who participated in the slave trade. But if you then say, well, yeah, but what about these other cultures that had slavery? They'll say, oh, what about ism? Well, that doesn't count. Let's keep to the issue. See, that's the thing. If they bring the issue up and you point out some logical inconsistency with their argument, they get angry and say, no, you can't use that. That's called whataboutism. You're not supposed to bring that up. You're supposed to talk about what they bring up and within the context they want it addressed. But the thing is, ultimately, we see this in universities across the United States. There's this attack on Western society, where I even saw an article one time that criticized Greek statues because they were white. Just because their paint went. Well, the thing is, the paint wore off. Yeah, they were what we would call white, red or blonde hair or whatever in those days. You can see mosaics that have survived and so forth, and they were described as such. But the thing is, they didn't make the statues of Socrates white, just pale white, to make a point that some woke person later could say, oh, look. No, it's just the paint wore off, But the thing is, no matter what, there's a million examples of this. The culture wars. These people are not angry at an action, okay? They're not angry at a political stance. They're angry at the people themselves and the entire culture. Often they belong to that culture, but they're angry. Now, of course, Freud explained why this takes place. You could read about this in his book, Civilization and Its Discontents. This is a neurosis, ultimately. But nevertheless, it doesn't matter if it's a neurosis or not. If your child's second grade public school teacher is teaching the kids that the British just went into countries just so they could destroy them, that's not true. Okay? It's not true. Or that the Americans waged war because they hated people that were different than them. No, it is not. But if your child hears this from their second grade teacher, then later their fourth grade teacher, then later their sixth grade, by the time they get to their first university course, they're going to be pretty hateful of their culture. And this, according to the fifth commandment in the Ten Commandments, means that eventually this culture will vanish, because you won't be looking at this as a blessing to be part of a culture. You won't see the land as even belonging to you. Your ancestors went and stole it from someone. That's the message that they want to get across. And eventually that will lead to a society just kind of withering away and dying. So ultimately, you need to teach your kids to be proud of their culture. I don't care, which culture. Every culture has something to be proud of. Chinese culture, African culture, European. All of these countries are rich, and you need to teach your kids that that's important to know, because there's going to be a teacher out there or someone in the media or a politician that's going to want to teach them. They're going to want to teach them otherwise. So anyway, thank you, and I'll catch you later for our next show.